Good morning. Yes, we're still in the morning. Isn't that great? Thoughts on Thursday. Now, it's not as if I don't have a thought any other time of the week, but today's title is Thoughts. We have the Tuesday tickler, we have the thoughts on Thursday. A slight lack of imagination, but there you go. We've been talking about gardening. Well, of course, it's spring. The clocks are about to spring forward. So we're making an adjustment again. Things are changing again. Our routine is going to change by an hour, whether we are totally aware of it or not. That's going to happen. Seasons change, whether we are totally aware of it or not. It's going to happen. I sometimes wonder if it's happening just as easily in desert areas or rainforest areas, although there are changes happening there too. In desert areas, the sands are always shifting, so there's always change somewhere. That's a little seed thought to plant. When we look at it, what is it that we want to see? And how can we make what we want to see become what we're seeing? Well, the obvious answer to that is plant what you want to see. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. Make it happen, in other words. You don't know where to start? Dig. Go out, take a fork, big one, not a little one, or a spade, or a trowel even if you have a window box, or if it's not that you have a window box but you have no garden, go out and get a window box. Get some plant pots. Put them in your patio area, your little space, your little bit outside your door. Keep it in your house, in your living room. Plants tend not to like bathrooms, or it's not really good to have them in the bedrooms. But your living room could be an absolute rainforest if you wanted it to be. I'm not saying you should, but I have seen on programs on a certain channel that there are some people who have an amazing array of plants that they have to tiptoe through in their living rooms because it gives them something. It allows them the idea of space, even although they're filling that space, but they're filling it with life, vibrancy, and change. Because plants grow, evolve, they become older, they become parents. It's almost like a little microscopic look at life, if you choose to see it that way. Now, when I say what do you want to see in your garden, some people like to grow just flowers because they like things to look pretty. And that's great. Some people like to grow ferns because they're really into woodlands, and perhaps their gardens are more suited to the more overcast, darker side, where you don't get enough sun in your garden. So there's a plant for everything. Some people like to grow vegetables because they like to see what's going to happen. They like to see the changes that occur. They like to see what's happening and how it tastes on their plate. I'm very good at growing vegetables myself. Last year I had an absolute ton of beetroot, and I'm not joking. I've had to put it in jars, I've had to pickle it. I kind of overdid the pickle though. Yes. Well, it's very tart. Draws your jaws. But it's still edible. And it's a lesson in what to do with things that are surplus at the time. You can pickle carrots too, you know. It's a Japanese way of pickling carrots. And cucumbers and courgettes. which grow very easily, particularly in this climate. There are things that you can grow for fun. There are things that you can grow for utility's sake. I like a variety. As I've said before, I kind of throw seeds out there and see what happens. I learn from each time, from each sowing, I learn something about the particular plant that I'm planting, where they like to be planted, whether or not they'll go with something else, what kind of soil they would prefer to be in. Because basically, if they're not in the right soil, they just won't go. Nothing happens, they just die. And that can happen in life too. If you're not in the right place, if you're not seeking the right soil, the right nutrients, your wishes, your ambitions are just going to wilt on the vine, waste away. So we have to be proactive in what we're doing, how we are nurturing our seeds. Thinking about what it is that we give is one thing, but what do we get back? A lot of people are like, well, it's so much trouble with the plants, and they do this, and they do, but they don't do anything, they just sit there being. Yeah, they sit there being what they are, fulfilling their potential, as long as we actually allow them to do that. Especially when we take them from their usual environment. Because when we do that, we're taking responsibility for a living thing. It's a living thing. It's sentient. It knows when bees are around. It knows when the sun is out. It produces oxygen during the day and carbon dioxide at night. It breathes. It digests nutrients from the earth and from the sun through photosynthesis. It seeks to rise to the sun, and when it doesn't get what it needs from the sun, it can get depressed and wilt. There are so many things that are in concert with life across the board. We can ignore them, or we can actually look at what they give us. The joy of seeing something bloom that is bringing beauty and light and happiness into your life, which is what a sunflower can do for me. Any plant flowering that I've planted does that for me. I feel a great joy. I'm grateful for that. But I'm also grateful when I'm planting it, when I'm taking the seed, when I'm choosing the seed. I'm anticipating the gratitude. So I'm giving it right then. Because I'm anticipating the joy of seeing my work come to fruition. And the irony of that word is not lost on me. I love to plant tomatoes. And I kind of let them go wild, which is why I ended up with so many green ones. I've just discovered that you have to kind of stop them growing at one point, so that the ones that are there already will burst into their redness, their beautiful plumpness, and not be green all over the winter. So in order for some plants to flourish, they have to be pruned. So in order for some of our ambitions to flourish and be, they have to be looked at and tailored, and what they need to be given needs to be looked at. Perhaps we have to prune our ideas a little bit just at the beginning, so that we can handle what's going on and get used to it and grow into ourselves. We'll make mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes. And then when the planting comes around next time, we'll know better. We can also rescue our mistakes. Because if we're paying attention, we'll see what's happening. And, oh, that's not going so well. Now, shamanically, we can actually be in connection with the plants, and the plants will tell us that they're not feeling very bright about what's going on. We'll get a feeling. Connecting to a plant is easy. You just have to start looking after it. And as with anything, there are levels of connection. As we give, so we get back in return. And the more we give, the more we will get back. I have a particular fondness for my begonia, as you know. I've said it many times before. And I am trying very hard at the moment to figure out what's going on with it. I think it's a bit tired. Because normally it would have gone to sleep during the winter. But I've brought it indoors. I've brought it into the living room from the kitchen, closer to where the heating is. And it's still getting used to this idea that it can be there all year round. It hasn't had a sleep. So it's a little bit grumpy. And I'm going to have to give it a little bit more love and attention and a little bit more food. But that's okay, because soon it will start to flourish and it will bloom and it will show me its beautiful flowers. And that's something I'm looking forward to. I've got chilies in there, peppers, lettuce. The lettuces are going, but they really do grow like weeds. And this year I was very good. I didn't plant as much as I did before. I had enough lettuce to fill Tesco 3 times over last year. It was a lesson in being a little bit more careful with what I'm doing, just slacking them about left, right and centre. But you see, I learned that lesson, and what was not used was used as mulch for the plants over the winter. To seed the ground, because my ground is full of clay, so I'm building it up into better earth so that plants can grow. I get beautifully surprised by the self-seeding, and I now have honesty in my garden. Now there's a thing. I didn't know that honesty was a salvia. But I had planted salvias, and suddenly one day, here was this beautiful silvery seed-podded thing right at the back of the garden, where I didn't put it. But it's there. And it spread its leaves, its seed pods around too. Now I will leave that because that brings back memories to me. My mother loved honesty, in more ways than one. So think about what it is that you're planting in your garden. Think what seeds you want to be there. Think about weeding out the ones that perhaps are not doing well and they're just taking up space. And what else you could put there in their stead that would grow well. Think about the gratitude that you will feel, that you can feel, that you can give to a plant that's going to feed you in more ways than one, because feeding your eyes and your soul is just as nourishing as taking a pea from a pod that you've grown and eating it, or a carrot from the ground, or a beetroot to pickle for over the winter. There's a lot more to it than just digging a hole and sticking something in there and watching it grow. There's a relationship that forms. There's a contract. And that is something to think about. Have fun with spring with your gardens. And next time you look at a flower, say thank you. Because you don't know what it's been through. And it's there blooming away, giving you joy, fragrance, and ideas maybe. I'll see you tomorrow.